and I lost the whole 45. I can talk for a long time. Hello and welcome to the Derek Show, where I, Derek, talk until I'm out of breath. This podcast is inspired by Tim Dillon and Bill Burr, two of my favorite angry Northeasterners in the country. And I am also an angry Northeasterner, so I will be working myself up into esteem as I continue talking. But the whole point of this is to, as I said, talk until I'm out of breath, to not really take any pauses of any significant duration, to keep the words coming. This show is also partly inspired by a friend of mine back in high school named Rachel. Had the suggestion that we would have like a lunch club or something where I would just sit down and talk, and because it seemed interesting. She thought about calling it the Derek Show. So this is that now. I am no longer in high school, but this is the where I talk about whatever it is that occurs to me or that I want to until I'm out of breath. Yesterday it was about 45 minutes. We'll see how far we get today. This show is also dedicated to my father, my recently departed father, who really liked listening to me talk. And when I was a little kid, he would just listen. He took delight in hearing me prattle on endlessly. I don't know if anyone else is going to be delighted by this or interested in it or entertained by it, but the whole point in putting it out there is to see if anyone is going to be. So here we go. And so far we don't have any Wi-Fi interruptions. So far everything's going smoothly. We'll see if that continues. It really might not, and then this would just be another crapshoot, which will make me yet angry to be even emotional masochism that I'm engaging in right now. You can see that we have a very high production set, the plain white background. You can see the shadow of the ceiling fan whirring behind me, and we have a couple of 60-liter coolers, which are really the stars of the show in this backdrop. They are for sale if anyone wants them. I'm asking $35 each. They were $45 when I purchased them. However, they're in excellent condition, and I cleaned them out after every time I used them. No mildew, no nothing. They're perfectly fine. But they're also, if you are familiar with the Comedy Mothership, the coolers that I used to sell beer in out of the back alley of the Comedy Mothership while we were all waiting for Kill Tony. So Kill Tony fans, Comedy Mothership fans, jump on this chance to get some historical comedy artifacts before they're gone, because my Facebook Marketplace is going wild for them. All right, well, we'll get right into it. I did do you the courtesy of wearing pants for this, so I didn't go full Zoom interview. It was like business on top, party on the bottom. No, I did put on pants. So I hope you're happy. I hope you're grateful. Anyways, well, I saw a few things. I wanted to do news stories, read through some news stories, and so I just typed in, not wanting to do really any work at all, ridiculous news stories, and it brought me to Associated Press News, specifically apnews.com/oddities, and so these are their stories, which are oddities. I'm going to do the same two that I did yesterday because I didn't. It would be a waste. It would be a waste if I didn't recap them. I actually found I found this one to be pretty entertaining, and I think there's something going on beneath the surface that is only in the subtext of the story. And so we're here to mete out justice. All right. So this story is Mountain Goat Stuck Under Kansas City Bridge Survives Rocky Rescue. By Heather Hollingsworth, updated April 9th. And this is about this escaped Escaped mountain goat. All right, here it is. An escaped mountain goat that somehow got stuck under a Kansas City bridge has survived a rocky rescue effort and now may be reunited with the owners who suspect he was stolen from their farm 2 months ago. It's the story that captured the hearts of Kansas City. It's the story that captured the hearts of Kansas City, said Tori Fulgate, the KC Pet Project, a nonprofit that handles animal control for the city and operates shelters. Forget a solar eclipse. We're on goat watch. Nice line. Nice line, Tori Fulgate. Also, I hope that you like my my news anchor voice. Well, I mean, I don't know if the glare on my... Oh, we'll keep on moving. Keep on. Forget a solar eclipse. We're on goat watch. We have more important things to worry about. We are concerned about the future of this Capricorn, and we don't have time to burn out our eyeballs while not wearing eclipse glasses. All right. After Monday's eclipse, people spotted the animal, believed to be a missing goat named Chug. Why is it named Chug? I want answers on this. You're just gonna blaze right past that, saying it's hopping around on the pillars that support the bridge, high above the ground below. Yes, element of danger. Why is this goat named Chug? Okay. Beer enema. That's my theory. All right, anyways. A goat named Chug hopping around on the pillars that support the bridge high above the ground below. Natural habitat for a goat. I bet he's fine up there. Hoping to guide it to safety, a driver managed to get a rope around the goat's neck, but that only added to the danger. Yes, I would imagine so. Okay, first of all, managed to get a rope around the goat's neck. Did he lasso it? 10 out of 10 on skills for the driver, but also 0 out of 10 on thinking. If the thing is standing on a post separated from the bridge way high above, at least that's how I'm picturing it. I don't know what pictures, that's what I'm seeing. Okay, rope on the thing's neck, but then if you pull on it, it's just going to swing and slam into the side of the bridge. 0 out of 10 thinking, 10 out of 10 skill. But that's how it goes sometimes. Managed to get a rope around the goat's neck, but that only added to the danger, Fulgate said. When firefighters tried to rappel over the side of the bridge to capture the goat, he spooked and tried to jump to the next platform. Well, of course he's spooked. You're doing mountaineering on his bridge. He is okay. First of all, I think that the notion that this goat was stolen is ridiculous. Because was he found on someone's property? Was he found with people? No, he was just roaming around, doing his own thing, standing up high like goats like to do, because that feels good for them, and they're really nimble and all that. What was I saying? No, so not stolen, escaped. He didn't want to go back. So of course, when you get people coming down the side of the bridge like those SWAT guys in the Blues Brothers going hut 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 hut, of course he's going to spook and try and jump to the next platform. But his hoof slipped and the rope caught, causing the goat to hang from its neck, not moving. I sure hope it wasn't tied with a slip knot. My goodness. This sounds like a truly botched rescue effort. I'm not going to ascribe any malicious motives to those involved, but it doesn't seem like they were really thinking this through. Firefighters managed to undo a snag in the rope, creating slack in the line. The goat then fell as much as 15 feet to the ground. Okay, so great job unsnagging the rope, but that made this goat crash into the ground from 15 feet high. 15 feet, oh boy, yeah. I'm already getting angry. It's making it hard to make words. The goat then fell as much as 15 feet, 4.5 meters. Thank you for reminding us that we will eventually change to the metric system. When will it be? Have no idea, but foreshadowing. To the ground, landing in a spot where crews had added padding in an attempt to soften the impact. Oh, so you planned to drop this goat 4.5 meters to the ground. That was your big idea. Like, well, let's catch it because clearly it can't just be free and be on its own. It can't just be chilling out on tall bridge pylons because goats like climbing mountains and they're comfy up there and he's just chilling. So no, you have to corner it into a position where you then drop it onto crash pads on purpose. I am becoming less and less impressed with these rescue efforts here in Kansas City. A waiting veterinarian sedated the goat, and crews carried him in a sling to the top of a rocky hill where firefighters gave him oxygen. Then he perked up and was taken for x-rays, Fulgate said. Well, if you gave him pure oxygen, I can imagine that he perked up, because pure oxygen will get you high. Said, okay, waiting veteran, so many people involved in this. I wonder what the cost to the state was. I mean, this goat can't work that off. What are you guys doing? He miraculously has no broken bones, Fulgate said. Well, there wouldn't have been any need for him to maybe have broken bones if you guys hadn't thrown him onto crash pads. The goat had been clambering along bridge supports that are as much as 80 feet, 24 meters, again, thank you for the foreshadowing, above the ground. A fall he wouldn't have survived, she said. You don't know that. You don't know if goats land on their feet like cats. You don't know if he would have survived. If you really wanted to find out, why didn't you just drop him from there? Instead of getting a rope around his neck, making him panic by rappelling down, having him miss the thing, hang by his neck, undo the snag, drop him onto crash pads, which you'd apparently already put there. So that was very considerate. So there was at least some kind of planning in this. But I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. She said that, and honestly, if I was a goat and all my ancestral memories are like just chilling out on mountains, I think an 80-foot high pylon next to a bridge would be the next best thing. I mean, Kansas is probably pretty flat. Anyone from Kansas, you let me know if there's any mountainous or rocky areas there. But I'm guessing that this was the goat's happy place in the entire state, and you took that away from him. Yes, if you're just tuning in now, this is the Derek Show, where I talk until I'm out of breath and get as angry as possible. Let's keep going. She said this was just the latest part of the goat's adventure. He entered the shelter as a stray on March 13th, was dubbed Jeffrey, and was adopted later that month. But he immediately jumped the fence at his new home, she said. And yet they persist with the narrative that this goat was stolen 2 months ago. No, if he jumped the fence at this goat rehab, what did they say it was? A shelter, okay, as a stray. If he jumped the fence at the animal shelter, he clearly didn't want to be there. Probably didn't want to be with the fam that he escaped from. This feels like the Fugitive Slave Act for goats. I don't mean to be, well, I am being a little bit provocative, but I don't mean to be too provocative with this. But this goat escaped. He was living his best life, hanging out on bridges and such, and then you just put him in goat jail. I mean, goat jail where he gets fed and everything, but we even feed people in human jail. This is a story about a goat that was rescued in Kansas City, or rescued. We're putting that in quotes. All right. He was dubbed Jeffrey. Okay, changed the name. Fine. Adopted later that month. Immediately jumped the new fence at his new home. Yeah, he didn't want to be there. Thanks to his media fame, yesterday we had somebody reach out, and they said that he is very similar to their goat that went missing back in February, she said. The family lives 2 hours away and plans to come to the shelter Wednesday to confirm he is their stolen goat. Once again, I think it's a misnomer. The subtext tells me that he's a goat that just wanted to be free. So why not let him eat the ample grass of Kansas and live his life that way? If he is, they plan to bring Chug home with them, and the goat's adoptive owners say it is okay with them. Well, so long as all of the humans gave consent, but this goat did not consent to going back into those people's yard. Who knows what they're doing? He seems to be very particular about his living situation, Folgate said. Yes, I think particular means freedom. Anyways, that's the story about the goat. Leave a comment about what you think about that. That's the story about the goat. Now, here's the next one. Who's really left-handed? In baseball, it can be hard to tell. Again, this is from apnews.com/oddities. By Kristie Rieken, Houston, Associated Press. Houston's Yordan Alvarez might be the top left-handed hitter in Major League Baseball. Teammate Framber Valdez ranks among the best left-handed pitchers too. Other than that, those guys are all right. Literally. Didn't see that one coming. Neither player considers himself left-handed at all. My goodness. MLB and its history are dotted with men who played out of their natural handedness, a phenomenon that is seen occasionally in other sports, but is a regular occurrence on the diamond. Thumb through a pack of baseball cards from just about any era, and you're likely to see players who bat one way and throw the other. Ask them to sign that card, and there's no telling which hand would hold the pen. I don't know how happy I am with this trivia. That's all right. Are dotted with men who play out their natural handedness. Oh, play out of their natural handedness. That makes sense now. I thought they said play out their natural handedness. Like, well, yes, playing out your natural handedness is using your natural hand, but out of your natural. Okay, all right. So I won't criticize. There wasn't an editorial mistake there. Valdez writes, eats, and even hits before the introduction of the universal designated hitter with his right hand. His left arm has helped him to make 2 All-Star teams and throw a no-hitter. What else does he use it for? What else does he use it for? Nothing, 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 he said with a laugh. Valdez simply decided at a young age that he wanted to be a left-handed pitcher. I used to throw lefty every single day, like day by day by day, he said in Spanish through a translator. When I was 11, I felt very comfortable throwing lefty, even though I did everything else righty. That's kind of cool. The guy trained himself to use his left hand. Lefties accounted for 26% of innings pitched in the major leagues last year. That must mean that left-handed pitchers are really popular. That if you're a left-handed thrower, you have a better chance of becoming a pitcher in the MLB because about 10% of the population are left-handed, from what I recall. Even though only 10 to 12% of the general population is estimated to be left-handed. There you go. Demand for good lefty pitchers is high, and Valdez recalls having an affinity for all of them. When I was growing up, I was always told it's very important to have a lefty pitcher, and that all the best pitchers were lefties as well, he said. So I told myself, hey, I want to be a lefty. Excellent. I like the sort of 30 for 30 style simplicity of this narration. You know, it's like this is just distracting oddities. Literally, okay. Other than that, those guys are all right. You know, it sounds like it really sounds like news anchor stuff. Alvarez throws, writes, and eats with his right hand. That sweet, powerful swing is his only left-handed activity. Like many young players, he aspired to be a switch hitter. Oddly, he ended up more comfortable with his non-dominant side. But I just got accustomed to hitting left-handed, he said via translator. And it was very interesting because my dad is the same thing. He hits left-handed, but he does everything else right-handed. Players like Alvarez are common across the majors, with 95 position players currently on active rosters listed as batting left and throwing right, including superstar two-way player Shohei Ohtani. Of course we have to talk about Shohei Ohtani. This Japanese phenom is taking the world by storm. I think he's on the Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've heard about him, but he's a pitcher. He's also good at hitting, and I think he's ambidextrous. He used left and right for everything. And I think I think what this might be signaling is that the MLB, Major League Baseball, is the John Daly of sports, with a long history of players drinking, smoking cigars during games, being fat as hell, and particularly not especially athletic. I really want to stop looking at the view count. I want to really not care how many people are looking and just continue talking. That was a lot easier the other day when I just had the screen. It got interrupted. It doesn't matter. Let's keep on going. Not thinking about okay. Yes, it is the John Daly of sports. This I think the secret is out. Baseball players have been very lazy for a long time. It's just been an excuse that pitchers can't hit very well. They just didn't invest any time in it. They just invested all their time in throwing, none in hitting whatsoever. And this guy Shohei, he can pitch and he can hit, which is unprecedented. But guess what? I bet in the next few years we're going to see a bunch of other people who can do that. Because he proved it was possible. No one wanted to bother proving it was possible because, like, hey, if you're good enough at being a pitcher, then you don't need to hit. It's fine. You just need, all you need to do is have one skill. And he's like, for honor. I'm all right. I'm sorry. There he is. Okay, Houston has the only two position players in the league who throw left and bat right, and outfielders Chas McCormick and Jake Myers. Whoa! Sharp left turn. We were just talking about Alvarez and Valdez. I really like the sort of schizophrenic tone that this news article is taking. We weren't talking about it. They just suddenly okay. So who is this Chas McCormick and Jake Myers? My dad throws left and hits right, so that's what I do too, Myers said. More 30 for 30 dialogue. I picked up a baseball with my left hand and started throwing it, and picked up a bat and wanted to swing right-handed, and that's kind of what he believed, and now I'm here. Chas McCormick is the only other guy. I need to read this one more time. I need to read it one more time. My dad throws left and hits right, so that's what I do too, Myers said. I picked up a baseball with my left hand and started throwing it, and picked up a bat and wanted to swing right-handed, and that's kind of what he believed, and now I'm here. Chas McCormick is the only other guy I've played with that does that. Great, well, that seems factual. All right. Toronto outfielder George Springer, a righty hitter and thrower, started teammate Justin Turner this spring by writing with his okay, just a second. You got to have some kind of narrative consistency in this. We were talking about Valdez and Alvarez. You introduced Chas McCormick and Jake Myers, and then 2 paragraphs later, Toronto outfielder George Springer, a righty hitter and thrower, startled teammate Justin Turner this spring by writing with his left hand. Yeah, I've been surprised when people have written with the surprising hand, or written left-handed. Like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that you wrote left-handed. Also, we don't have any editors. We don't have any producers on this. We don't have any sound effects. Any sound effects you're going to hear are going to be made by yours truly. It's really weird, Turner said. I saw him sign an autograph the other day, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? Well, that seems like a little bit of an overreaction, but surprise, valid, especially if you know the guy. Springer, the 2017 World Series MVP, calls himself left-handed and says the only things he does righty are play baseball and golf. His parents tell him he started grabbing the ball with his right hand at a young age and stuck with it. Hell yeah, that's just as American as you can get. That's who I am, Springer said. I've never really thought anything of it. I guess it is cool that I can do things with each side of my body, and I'm not so one-way dominant. If the double entendre is lost on you, that's okay. We'll keep riding. We'll keep riding past that. Dr. Stephen D. Christman, a professor in the psychology department at the University of Toledo and an expert in handedness, said cases like Springer's aren't that surprising. Okay. Professor of psychology at University of Toledo and an expert in handedness. How long do you think it takes to become an expert in handedness? How much is there to know about handedness? I mean, I know that there's no gene for left-handedness, that it's just the right-handed gene is dominant, and so that covers 75% of the population. Because you think about your middle school biology class, the Punnett square. This, if you got a dominant gene for right-handedness, you're going to cover this half. You got a dominant gene for right-handedness, you're going to cover this half, and then you just got this 25% left over, which are non-right-handed people. Doesn't mean they're left-handed people. 10% of the population, that's 40% of the people who are not right-handed dominant wind up being left-handed, and a lot of them also wind up being right-handed, because that's how we train people to be in our society. Because after all, the majority rules, 75% of people are naturally right-handed dominant. So get with the program, and the rest of them are ambidextrous. And there's another word for it. It's not ambidextrous, but it's for people who aren't like truly fluent with both hands. I'd have to Google it. You can Google it right now if you want. It's for people who have some proficiencies with each hand or something like that. So let's find out if Christman drops any surprising truth bombs on us outside of it. It sort of sounds like a scam, being an expert in handedness, but honestly, that seems like a smart move. And academia is taking a niche that not only no one else would want to take, but it's just so esoteric. They're like, hey, if Fox News or MSNBC or CNN needs someone to talk about handedness, I'm always there. I'm waiting in the slips. Put me in, coach. Oh, speaking of lost animals, as we are earlier, I just remember this. My show notes for today are written on the back of a lost cat poster that somebody left on the windshield of my car. So if you live in the North Loop area of Austin, and you've seen a cat like this, please return it to their owners, because frankly, well, unless this cat also escaped on purpose like that goat and wasn't stolen, but yeah, return the lost cat. They say they love him. I sure hope they do. Anyways, that was our commercial break. Let's go back to the story. Christman said studies have found only 1% to 2% of people are uniformly left-handed across the 10 activities used to measure handedness. Yes, of course, because there's only right-handed dominance, and genetically there isn't, left-handed dominance. It's like, all right, well, maybe they got used to using their left hand, but you got these 10 activities, and it's just really improbable that one person would do all of them with one hand, unless of course they're right-handed dominant. Okay. 1% to 2% of people uniformly left-handed across the 10 activities used to measure handedness, including writing, drawing, throwing, brushing teeth and hair, opening a box, and using a spoon. Well, if you listed 6, you might as well list the other 4. I'm really curious to know. Because honestly, writing, drawing, that makes sense. Matter of fact, my grandfather, he drew with his left hand, but he wrote with his right. Because that was like back during the days when they force you to write right-handed. Because like you gotta fall in line. I don't know. Yeah, they wanted everybody to be the same. It's like, yeah, you were born for the factory. You will be made in a factory. Ah. Okay. Oh, you were born for the... All right, well, it doesn't matter. Don't need to do it again. Because lefties are forced to adapt, like when only righty scissors are available, they're more likely to learn to use both hands. Though it's rare in other sports for guys to play out of their natural handedness, I like that. There is a huge exception in the NBA. Superstar LeBron James is like Springer in that he's naturally left-handed but plays right-handed. James, who turns 40 in December, joked about his handedness late last year. I wonder if that's because his basketball coach early on just taught him with the right hand. He's like, hey, just do it with the right hand. That's how I know how to do it. You just do it with the right hand. I'm going to play until I'm 40. Then after 40, I'm going to go all left-handed until I'm 45. He joked to reporters. I'm going to score 5,000 points with my left hand, then I'll be done. That's a legendary move. Do it, LeBron. We want to see it. All right, well, he was joking, so it probably won't happen. Valdez, Alvarez, and Springer follow in a line of great MLB players who played out of their natural handedness. The list even includes Babe Ruth, who batted and threw left-handed, but can be seen in photos using his right hand to sign autographs. Maybe he's throwing us off. Maybe he's an alien. Maybe he, like Elvis, was reabsorbed into the collective, kidnapped by his own kind, and he usually wrote with his left hand, but he just did it a couple times with his right. When he saw the cameras were looking, he just wanted to confuse us. All right. I don't know if I'm doing a convincing Alex Jones. Well, I'm not trying to do his voice. I don't want any comments about that. If you find this entertaining, please like, comment, subscribe, enjoy. I won't beg for that, but if you like it, please click the like button, because that's good. Babe Ruth, we went on a tangent there. John Thorne, MLB's official historian, also probably going to be a sweet gig. All you got to do is be nerdy and know a lot of baseball facts. These, as a matter of fact, John Thorne, Stephen D. Christman, did I get the name right? Oh, wow, this is embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. Stephen D. Christman. Okay, yeah, I got the name right. John Thorne, Stephen D. Christman, if you would like to be interviewed, I'm ready for it. I'm interested. Let's do an interview. Anyhow. John Thorne, MLB's official historian, says Ruth was naturally left-handed, but teachers at the time routinely discouraged children from writing with their left hand because lefties were thought to represent the dark side. Whoa! All right, call back to Grandpa's story, first of all, but also thought to represent the dark side. That's making it all biblical. The hand of weakness. If you guys Google this, in the Bible, like the left hand was like the weak hand. Or it's just, so represent the dark side? My goodness, that was before Star Wars. We really have come a long way in 100 years, haven't we? Though not for the same reasons, Houston's first baseman, John Singleton, ended up doing the same thing as Ruth. He both bats and throws left-handed, but writes with his right hand. My mom's a school teacher. Well, first of all, I'd like to point out how many times we've just heard the enumeration of a person's activities with what hand that they do. I don't think this passes the who gives a shit test, frankly. And I mean, this has just been padding the article. This article was way longer than the one about the goat, and frankly, the one about the goat was much more interesting. But here we go. Though not for the same reasons, right? My mom's a school teacher, and she taught me how to write with my right hand when I was young, but I think that translated to me eating with my right hand, so on and so forth, he said. But for the most part, I think I'm left-handed. Well, I hate to break it to you, John Singleton. You're not left-handed. You're just not right-hand dominant. And you learn to do a few things with your right hand. And I hope that this gives you peace going forward, knowing the truth. Though things might come easier for elite athletes, Christman said anyone can learn to do things with their non-dominant hand. Now, I agree with that. Stephen D. Christman, hit me up for an interview. We have stuff to talk about. I think practice can overcome any innate handedness difference just about, he said. Okay, cool. So that was that story. Leave a comment if you think it was worth it. Shall we go on to another story? That's where I wanted to go. I wanted to talk about these cats. We still got a little bit of time left, and so far, I think I've been doing an excellent job of talking until I'm out of breath. Not out of breath yet, but we're keeping on going. You want to hear about these cats? Let's hear about these cats. A new declaration in Mexico gives 19 cats roaming the presidential palace food and care forever. Heartwarming. And there's a very cute picture of a cat here on the backsplash. By Megan Janetsky, Mexico City, Associated Press. They prowl through palace gardens, stalking pigeons, and make cameos on televised press briefings. Some greet tourists at the doors, while others take a sneaky lick off ice cream from staff. 19 feral cats have free reign of Mexico's national palace, long roaming the lush gardens and historical colonial halls of the most iconic buildings in the country. They have access to every part of the palace, so they walk in on meetings, interviews, and wander onto camera, says Jesus Arias. the palace veterinarian, as a handful of feline friends brush against his ankles. That's adorable. This is lovely. This is heartwarming. Megan Janetsky, you are an excellent writer. I have not felt any need to criticize this so far, and this is lovely. Let's see. Oh, they've got more pictures too. Oh, this is adorable. Absolutely. Now the palace cats have made history. All right, we can forgive some puns. Well, there was one in the title, forever history. All right, that's your thing. I get it. After the government of Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador declared them to be living fixed assets. The first animals in Mexico to receive the title. The investment term fixed assets usually applies to buildings and furniture, but by applying it to cats, Lopez Obrador's government has obligated the country's treasury to give them food and care for them for the rest of their lives, even after the leader leaves office in October. Very cute, wonderful. Now, what I'm wondering, are they assets to the Mexican government because the economy is in such shambles that he recognizes the need for this tourism, the tourism industry to capitalize on these cats? Now, I won't say they're being taken advantage of, because honestly, food and shelter forever seems nice, and I think these cats are going to have a good time. The cats are now a symbol of the National Palace. Just as we understand this world, I wouldn't understand the National Palace without the presence of these cats, said Adriana Castillo Roman, General Director of the National Palace and Cultural Heritage Conservancy. We have to make sure make sure the cats are taken care of. Okay, cute. Nestled in the heart of Mexico City, the presidential palace has long been the seat of Mexico's executive branch. Now the residence of Lopez Obrador is built upon the former palace of indigenous Emperor Moctezuma. That's right. Ironically, Moctezuma's ancient Aztec culture honored not cats, but hairless dogs, known as, this is a long word, Holoitzcuintle. Holoitzcuintle. Okay, that's a very Aztec word. It's got the X at the beginning of it, too. Who were even buried with their masters. But these days, Lopez Obrador is accompanied by Bowie, Bella, Nube, Coco, Yema, Olin, Balam, and more, who seem to have found a perfect home in the building. Lopez Obrador himself says the cats dominate the palace and often walk in front of him during official ceremonies. Cats gonna be cats, man. They're just gonna be cats. Some are named after artists like Orange Tabby Bowie. Oh, after the rock star David Bowie. Love David Bowie, who visited the palace in 1997 to see the famous mural by Mexican painter Diego Rivera. Others are named after native rocks or words in the region's ancient Aztec language, like Olin, which means movement. That's a flattering word for a cat. Cats move very gracefully. Staff say they remember the feral cats living amongst the cacti and dense brush of the gardens as far back as 50 years ago. But it's unclear why they first appeared, or how they even got into the building. While 19 live in the building full-time, many more come and go, and staff suspect they slip under a small crack in the palace gate by night. Oh, that's cute. They're sneaking out to go party. You're going to find some tuna fish in a trash can. One cat named Zeus, who has since passed away, R.I.P., even became famous in July when he meandered into the president's morning press briefing. The gray cat stood in front of cameras and wandered among reporters until palace staff had to carry him off. I don't know. If it's that disruptive, yeah, you gotta carry him up, but maybe, just maybe let him do his thing. That's hilarious. If they hadn't carried him off, would the press briefing had made world news? Maybe. That'd be even better for Mexico's economy. Fixed assets. Fixed assets. Lopez Obrador. All right. To avoid a catastrophe. Oh my God, there are too many of these puns, but here we keep going. I still like the writing on this other Castillo said the government had to ask reporters to stop feeding Zeus because he would spend his days accepting treats from different people around the palace, and he was getting really fat. Guy knew his position, but he didn't know how to control himself. He just ate and ate and ate. When Lopez Obrador first took office in 2018, Castillo said the palace pets were being fed quietly by employees. Some employees like cats. Would bring them leftovers from home, and every once in a while, canned food or rice and soup, Castillo said. Palace staff worked with vets from the National Autonomous University of Mexico to vaccinate, sterilize, and chip the cats. Oh no. Maybe there's going to be like a moratorium on when the cats can because if they die, but if they invite more of their cat friends to move in, then maybe the legacy will continue. But sounds like these assets really are fixed, huh? And build them little cat homes, also adorable, and feeding stations around the garden. They also hired Arias to take care of them on a permanent basis and give them a good life. Neither Bowie, Coco, or Olin commented when asked how they feel about living fixed assets. About being living fixed assets. Coco swished his tail while Olin stretched out below a palace pillar and fell asleep. This is nice. It's nice to hear about this instead of Israel and Palestine, instead of Ukraine. World War III is on our doorstep, but let's continue on. Meow, responded Nube, a gray cat named after the Spanish word for cloud, who enjoys greeting visitors at the door of the palace. All right, well, that was the cat story. We went through the handedness baseball one. Mountain goat rescued. Honestly, I'm going to start a GoFundMe to liberate that goat. That's it. He wasn't rescued. He was taken back into captivity. Justice for Chug. Hashtag justice for Chug. Hit the Twitter space. I mean, it's still twitter.com, even though it's rebranded as X. It seems kind of silly to me. Hit Twitter with that. Hashtag justice for Chug. We're going to save him. All right, well, that has been the Derek Show, the show where I talk until I'm out of breath. I'm not out of breath, but this seems like an appropriate length of time to have done this. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who watches. Again, I'm not going to beg for it, but hit the like button, comment, and subscribe if you were entertained. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Good night.